Welcome to the Sex and Love Labcast. Today, we're going to be talking about my journey with sex, love, and therapy. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Sex and Love Labcast. No matter whether this is your 27th time or your first, welcome. So today's podcast title is Sex, Love, and Therapy. And some people are really good at being organized and they plan out their podcast topics weeks in advance. That's not me. I wish it was. I wish it was. And eventually it will be. It will be, right? Saying positive things. However, I am more of a in the moment type person. And whatever is really in my gut, in my intuition, whatever I'm feeling, whatever I am thinking is what I want to podcast about. So it's often very spontaneous, especially if it is just me. Now, if it's something that I'm planning to do with somebody else, then, I do have to plan a little bit, a little bit further in advance. But for me, this channel has turned almost into a diary of my journey as a human, a sexual human, which is great. That's totally fine. There are educational, pieces, and I want to get back to doing some of the 101 courses here on my podcast. But my point is, it's not usually until something hits me that I decide what I'm going to podcast about. And I did not decide I was going to podcast about this until it was this morning after my therapy session. Um, and the thing is that this podcast is coming out tomorrow. So I would have thought of something to podcast about, but it just hadn't hit me yet. So what the fuck are you talking about, Lauren? I know. I know. Sex, love, and therapy. I started therapy in 2018 and I had a lot of anxiety, right? Therapy has saved me 1,000 times. 1,000 times. Um, some of my background, I don't think that I've ever really devoted a podcast, like a whole episode to why I became a sex coach. I've podcasted about how I became a dom, and I know that I have mentioned here and there why I became a sex coach, but like full spectrum story. So I am not going to give every single detail. I don't want this to be a very, gigantically long podcast, but just I'm gonna I'm gonna try to gloss over what got me here and then led to this morning. So from a very young age, and also let me say I do not hold any ill will towards anybody really. I will let you know if I do. So if I mention somebody in this podcast, please know that I understand that anything that they said or did came from a place of not purposely harmful. Okay. I say that because I'm going to mention my mama. From a young age, I was made to feel not purposely like my body was bad. I can specifically remember when I was 5 or 6, maybe 7, my grandmother wanted to pay me, like she offered to pay me $1 per pound of weight that I lost as a small child. And then I remember my mom making a comment to me when I was 6. We got our first grade annuals, and there was a picture of me in the annual, and I was wearing some little tight knit pants and a button up plaid shirt that was like scrunched up and tied at the waist. It was not very flattering for my already chunky body type. I was a big girl my entire life. And she said I looked pregnant. Now again, I know she didn't mean anything by it, but those small things planted seeds in my head that something was wrong with me, right? My body. And so um, when I moved from Pearl, Mississippi to Cleveland, Mississippi, it was terrible. It was terrible. I was bullied so badly by this one girl in particular for my weight. And I mean, I had never experienced anything like that before. And this girl was not really much smaller than me, and she was making so much fun of me. Like I can remember specific things she said to me. It was really hard. And so the more that those things happened, the more that I believed that something was wrong with me. And the quieter I got, the less outgoing I became, the more internal I went. And I was bullied all through high school for my weight. And I remember masturbating for the first time at the age of 11. I was just like, I wonder what this feels like. Found out. And I was a very active preteen that way. Um, I remember when I was 12 or 13, my my parents had gone to this health fair out at the college, and they brought home a manila folder, and in the manila folder was a little small booklet about how to use a condom. And I remember like reading through that and looking through that. I had it sitting up in the bathroom. There was a wall heater. It was an older house, and there was a wall heater, and I had it in the crock, just looking at it, like while I was masturbating. And I left it in there on accident, and they found it, had a discussion with us. I did not, which is why it's really hard to say this right now. I mean, I denied it. Because I didn't want them to know what I might have been doing. Like it was shameful. Like I wasn't supposed to be doing it. That was the thing. Like I knew that I was doing something that nobody had ever told me not to masturbate, but this was an adult thing, right? This wasn't something. This is something that I had seen in like the scrambled clips and in nudie magazines that my friends showed me of their dads. Um, I remember um, my dad got a Fredericks of Hollywood catalog. I don't even know if like he purposely got it, but like one came to the house with his name on it. And you know, even the Sears catalog, like and this is when I knew for sure that I was bisexual, because there were sheer panties. And like I mean I was a curious young girl. Um, I did not have sex until I was 28 and married. So let me go ahead and insert that before I go any further. But I didn't kiss a boy till I was almost 21. So I didn't even date anybody. Like I can't even say that I held hands with a boy until my first boyfriend at almost 21. But I was very involved in church, and I remember my Sunday school teacher telling us one time that kissing was sex. Now, again, keep in mind, I had never kissed a boy. I was 14 years old. I had never kissed a boy, or a girl for that matter. And I argued, I argued with her, and I think it really kind of took her aback because I was good little Lauren. Like I came to church because I wanted to. Neither of my parents were at that church. I came with a friend to like the Wednesday night teen service and then started coming to church and joined the church. And I was really big into like all the activities in the church. I was there every time the doors were open. And here I was arguing about whether kissing was sex or not. But I just could not. Can kissing lead to sex? Yes. Is kissing sex? No. I'm sorry, Miss Julie, it's not. It was not then, and it definitely is not now. Um, there's still a conscious choice you have to make, right? But anyway, I digress. Um, so that's like really stuck in my brain. None of my friends talked about masturbation at all. Guys talked about it, but my friend group had, girls, if you're watching, it's okay to tell me now if you masturbated in high school. It's okay to tell me. Um, I even mentioned in a episode last week those personal massagers you can get from Walmart, like, during the Christmas season and stuff. Like they had some that were they were you could use them on your back, but they were usable in other parts of your body too. And I had one of those. Uh, I mean, I was a teenager, your hormones are flowing, uh, yeah, you know, but it felt like that was wrong. And even let me go back to this part. Sixth grade, my science teacher actually skipped the first chapter in our book, which was on reproduction. I did not learn about the reproductive system until I was in my 30s. I did not know what was going on inside my own body as a female until my 30s because I wasn't taught and it felt shameful. And why did I need to know? Why did I need to know? So it just, nobody talked about it. My parents had the talk with us at some point, but I don't remember that. And so I asked my mom um, a year or so ago after I got into coaching, I was like, did y'all have the talk with us? And she said, yeah. And I was like, what did you say? And she said, we asked if you guys were good. And you said, yeah. So that was it. And I was like, that wasn't a talk at all. Um, and it would have had to be when I was 13 or 14. So why would I don't, and I said, I don't fault my parents. I don't fault my parents for not having a more in-depth conversation about not just sex, but relationships and dating and love and giving your body to somebody and giving it to them safely. Like it was stuff that their parents didn't talk about either. And nobody talked about it. And then at church, you weren't supposed to talk about it. You weren't even supposed to kiss anybody. When everybody at that table in my Sunday school class that day, every single one of them had done way more than kiss. Do you think anybody else said anything? I was the only one. And because it just, I knew it wasn't right. Um, I knew it felt like they were trying to make us, I don't want to say limit ourselves, but limit ourselves, like limit the amount of whatever. I don't know. It felt bad. I knew it wasn't right. So I continued to, grow up, graduate high school, um, into college. I don't, I still hadn't kissed a boy. Um, then I had my first relationship. Thankfully, I did not have sex with him. But then, like, the years just kept going. And I didn't date anybody. Like I didn't feel like anybody could possibly like me because I mean my entire life I've been made fun of for being fat. And so, that comboed with thinking that sex was bad, it didn't matter to me. I had a toy, I was good. I had friends, but I never was I don't even know that I wanted to be with anybody. I was a child of divorce, and the last few years, like they didn't hug or touch. And so my view of what a marriage or a relationship should be was skewed. I just don't remember it being important to me to have someone. And then I met my first husband, and but even then on my wedding night, I didn't want to have sex because then who was I going to be? I had been the good virgin girl for 28 years, and like I didn't even want to drink in public because I didn't want people to think bad things about me. And what would somebody think about me if they knew I had had sex? When, as it turns out, I mean, like everybody else around you is having sex, right? But nobody's talking about it. And so even sex on my wedding night wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't what it should have been because I was like, they're gonna know. Not to mention that me and my at the time fiance had moved into a mobile home together, and I got a letter from my pastor telling me to make good choices, which is funny because he didn't send anything like that to my fiance. And what's even funnier is that my sister also got something similar to that from her pastor, a different pastor. And her then, I think they were just boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, didn't receive anything. But that's a whole nother podcast. Um, I mean, so even with that, like I was being shamed by a spiritual leader to not do these things when I was already not doing them, you know? Um, so got married, had sex, whatever, got divorced, had a lot more sex, whatever, got married again, not so much sex most of the time, whatever, got divorced, had a lot more sex, ugh, whatever. And then when I did start doming, like it made me realize how important like that my pleasure in sex is. And that's when it was about a year later, I decided that I wanted to become a sex coach. I had started following some people on Instagram, and it just so happened to pop up on my timeline. And the reason was because I mean, I was 39 years old when I 39, 40 math. Um, when I took that coaching course, and it had taken me that much of my life to realize how important sex can be. And it, we make it so shameful, like it's something that's dirty, but somebody else is who made it dirty and shameful. It's not. But I didn't want anybody else to get to be my age and look back and be like, wow, I knew nothing about my body. I didn't know that I was, my pleasure was important, or my feelings about pleasure were important, or my feelings on sex were important. Um, I didn't want anybody to be in their 30s and just now understanding how their reproductive system works. Um, I didn't want that. And so, because I had realized how much goodness sex can bring, right? When it's right, when it's consensual, and when there's a connection. And all of this happened in conjunction with, therapy. But to be truthful with you, I really feel like the first few years of therapy were just, now something we did solve in the first few years of therapy was, I won't say solve, something that is not as much of an issue as it used to be is my disordered eating. She really helped me, which is one of her specialties. She really helped me change how I view food. View food. Also, my throat hurts. I opened the last 2 days at work, and there was nobody there the first 2 hours, just prepping, and I was singing at the top of my lungs. Um, but yeah, so I did do that, and there was some more surface level stuff. We worked on some self-worth stuff, but it was probably after I started the sex coaching class. She had been in and out, but due to her health, my therapist had. And it was when I decided to make a conscious decision to be alone that the therapy started getting really hard, really hard, because it became, it wasn't about me trying to figure out how to love someone else and figure them out. It was about me trying to figure out how to love myself and figure me out. And if you've never actually done that before, which I don't believe most people truly think about and have done, it's hard. I didn't have dating apps for most of like for the year and a half. There was a part of it that I did, but for most of it, I did not. And if I did download a dating app, it usually was about a week or two. And then I would delete it again because I was like, I can't, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And I didn't realize it, but I was working on making myself the best possible person for, hopefully for a relationship. I mean, that wasn't the only reason, but that is part of what was happening is I was learning to be truly by myself, like, and to sit with that. And then the thing is that when you're sitting with yourself alone in a room, like, let's just think about it that way. Um, and there's no cell phone to scroll on, and there's no TV to watch, and there's no book to read. What do? You think a lot. And there was a lot that I needed to think about. I can look back over the last few years and the relationships that I have encountered along the way. There is a definite progression of growth, which is great. As recently as this weekend, I was talking to a guy. He is going through a lot, and I understand that. Um, he was trying to deal with things. I gave him some space, messaged him just to kind of let him know where I was at. A really cool guy. Um, was willing to give him some time because I wanted to see where things could go. So we talked pretty heavy for a few days, and then he just was gone. And I was like, I'll give it 2 days, and then I'll message him. And then I was like, I'll make it three. And then I was like, I just don't think I'm going to. I don't think I'm going to do it. And it's sad because I want to, like, the nurturer in me wants to make sure he's okay. Um, but I can't, like, he'll reach out to me if he wants to, you know, if they will, they want to. Wait, no, if they want to, they will. If they won't to, they will. That's the worst. Yes, I did have a little bit of you know, just a little. But I was talking to my therapist about that, and she's like, I've seen so much growth in you since the last guy. And there was a moment even then. Sometimes when I'm feeling sad, it's hard to look into the camera. Um, there was a moment then that I was hoping I would get to kind of get some closure from him, especially knowing that he understood how important closure was. And I reached out and tried to see if he would, entertain a phone call, and he just didn't respond. And up until that point, I had thought that maybe something could turn around and we could make it work. And then it just hit me. I texted my therapist. I was like, he just wasn't for me, huh? He just wasn't for me. And um, I discussed with her today. I was like, it's hard when you get into you first meet a person that you have such a great connection with, and then something happens and it doesn't work. Um, my go-to has been, what did I do wrong? And she told me today, she said it was the first time. It's the first time that you didn't question what you did wrong. It was the first time you said, I know there's nothing I could have done differently, which was huge, huge. And that's kind of where I'm feeling about this current situation is like, I don't think there's anything I could do differently right now to make what's happening any better. And I know that it's not my fault, so I don't feel like continuing to reach out is the answer. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I'm gonna give this person their space, and if they come back, they come back. But it was really cool to hear her say that because I promise that's not usually me. Like I am worried, like, what did I do? What could I have done differently? How is it my fault? And I understand now that there's so much from both marriages and any relationship I had in between that really wasn't my fault. And I wish I had known then that it wasn't my fault. I mean, there's so many things I wish, right? Uh, um, would it have mattered? I don't know. But I mean, I wasn't healed, so I don't suspect that the outcomes would have been any different. But it just, it always felt like I bared the weight of making sure that a relationship worked. And I mean, I guess that is because I did for at least a few of them. Um, and I know that that comes from trauma, wanting to, wanting to one, be in control of something like that, but two, feeling like, you have to make it work. It's work. It's your responsibility. It's, it's all on my shoulders. And that was not fair. It wasn't fair to me to do that. It wasn't fair to my partners because, I mean, society is so weird with its gender roles, right? Like the man is supposed to provide, which is not how things are anymore. Like we should share. But the woman is supposed to, well, okay, let me go back. The man is supposed to provide, like financial support, a roof over your head. That's the old gender roles from the 1900s. um, and the woman was supposed to be the caretaker. And it's like it's like we've grown somewhat out of the man is supposed to be the provider financially and home wise, which I don't think it's fair for the man to be able to think they have to do that. I think that's something that society still presses. I think it's more acceptable that, I mean, we know that most homes have at least two incomes. Um, and I do know that men still do feel that, and I'm sorry, you shouldn't. But then you have women who are working full time and having children and still having to be sometimes the emotional caretakers for themselves and their children and their spouse. Like I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do it. It's just me and one other person. Um, and I was talking this morning and it's projected that by 2030, I think it was like 40% of women will be single. Um, and I was talking about why, and so many women are going to therapy and learning uh, their traumas and healing them, and just realizing that a lot of times A lot of times it's just easier to just be single and have a supply of adult toys on hand. But that's not what I want, you know? And that's not what I want. I feel like I am to a point that I have a much more balanced view of the world and of myself and of relationships and what they are and what they are not and what they can and what they can't be. And I feel like I am bringing my best self to the table. And so much of that is because of therapy. In fact, I was telling I was telling my therapist today, I was like, I understand. I said these words to her, and the thing about this is that when I first started therapy in 2018, she gave me an exercise where I had to write down things that I liked about myself, and I couldn't write a damn thing. So then she said, okay, you can cheat. You can put it on Facebook and have folks respond. And so many did. And then she just asked me to read them out loud, and I could not do it without crying. I believed I had no worth. I didn't understand why anybody was saying nice things about me. I had no idea. And this morning, I'm on therapy. I'm on virtual therapy, just like this, like I'm talking to you guys, except I'm looking here instead of here. And I was like, I know that I'm intelligent and I know that I'm attractive and I know that I'm caring and kind and sweet. And I know that I deserve so many good things. And I have been challenging beliefs lately where I think, oh, why would someone do that for me? Instead, I'm saying, why wouldn't they do that for me? Like, now, don't get it twisted. I don't think I'm some like, you know, prize hen or anything. But I have so much to offer someone. And now in my sex, love, and therapy journey, I am to the point that it's like I would rather be alone than settle for less than what I know that I give to someone. I just want somebody to match energies. I just want somebody to give. You don't have to give more than I give. And it doesn't even have to be that serious. But like I want somebody who is driven just like me and ambitious and doesn't want to just sit and settle for mediocrity. Like that's not me. It's not me. It's not going to be me ever. Mm-mm. I don't necessarily like I'm not trying to be rich or famous. Like that's not it. I every day there's a way to be a little bit better, right? And so I continue every day to try to be a little bit better in some way or another. And it's made this journey of sex and love better, but more difficult. It's, ignorance is bliss. What you don't know, you don't know. And when you don't know, you can't acknowledge it or see it in anybody else or not in yourself or whatever the situation is, But once you become aware of what is and what isn't, what you do and don't want, and then you start to see it, you're like, oh no. Oh no. Curses. Curses. Um, it's wild. I um I I just want somebody who will put in the same amount of emotional and mental labor into a relationship as I do. I don't even have a ton of this is what I look for in a man or a woman. Um I tell people, they're like, "Well, what's your type?" I'm like, "I like people. I just like people, you know. If the energy is there, if they have these few qualities, then I'm probably gonna get along with them." And but it's like there's never one specific type of person. Although my Facebook algorithm for Facebook dating does have it right lately. Like my Facebook dating algorithm where you go and you actually are swiping, is mostly beautiful black men and the occasional like handsome white guy. It's wild. It's wild. Thank you, Facebook dating. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, so I also want a dude who like is either in therapy or is open to therapy. Um, Especially for us as a couple. Yeah. Yeah. But it's been quite a journey, going from, that table in the fellowship hall, talking to my Sunday school teacher about, kissing isn't sex, to then here I am now. Like, I don't talk about sex for attention. I don't talk about sex for the DMs. I don't talk about sex for the money. I mean, hopefully it will pay me at some point. Promise you it's not at this moment. Um, I talk about sex so that somebody else is talking about sex and somebody else will watch this and maybe they'll talk about sex. Sex should be normalized. There's no reason that it should be a shameful thing. Nobody should feel the shame that I felt. Um, there are so many people. Now, okay, look, there's always caveats to that, and let me say, consensual and safe. You know, when it comes to sex, if it's consensual and it's safe, then sex should be enjoyed. And I'm gonna keep talking. I've actually exciting news. Um, I've got a second podcast that I am working on launching called Authentically Woman. I will send you the link to that podcast channel. It is going to be specifically about women. If you are a woman and you're watching it, um, I would love some information from you if you would be willing to be on the podcast. The whole thing is going to be about me and hopefully two to three more women at a time, having a quote roundtable discussion through Zoom about a specific woman's topic. I've always wanted to have an audience on some platform that was not necessarily mostly women, but for women. And because this channel is not necessarily that, I want to do something that is. And I had been telling you guys that, I was kind of changing my branding. Well, it turns out that's just the new podcast brand, Authentically Woman. So be sure to click that link and go ahead and subscribe. I don't have any other socials yet, but I will get those and I'll add them to some link somewhere, some way, somehow. For now, I am Lauren. I love doing this, you guys. I It is hard sometimes to motivate myself. It is hard to, like, I'm like, "Oh, I could just skip a week." I don't want to skip a week though. Like, I love it. And there's so many other things I want to do. I have so many ideas. And so all I ask you guys is that you like this video, comment if you can, click that share button. Um, Even if you're just copying that link and sending it to your own self through text, like it will help the algorithm. But also, if you have a buddy, or a girlfriend, or someone who you think would either find me entertaining or get some sort of enjoyment or education from this, please share it. I need your guys' help to complete my mission. Okay. I need your help. I love you guys so much. You all pretty much know where my socials are. I will have put something up here somewhere. Women also, please feel free to join my Facebook group, the Venus and Vixen Academy. It is for women only. Um, there are some questions that you do have to answer just to make sure that you're not a bot and that we keep my group safe. Okay. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. And again, please, please, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Anything that you can do for me to help push that algorithm would be great. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.